speak, essentially. So there you have it. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Obukoya.
Okay.
All right, I'll look for who is here to present on the Arlington Transportation Future agenda.
Okay, we have staff member Kristen Calkins presenting.
Kristen, take it away.
Hey, everybody. Let me share my presentation. This is going to be a recap, probably very familiar information to what everybody heard at the information item that we shared. But my screen's doing something very odd. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Just wanted to confirm because it's looking wonky on my end, but if you see it perfectly, I am happy with that. I do just want to recognize that I'm joined by a number of my colleagues this evening. I'll introduce myself first. I'm Kristen Culkins. I'm the project manager for Arlington's Transportation Future. One of many people who are working diligently on this. I'm joined with Allison Bullock, the Transportation Planning Group Manager, Brian Shelton, my deputy project manager and also our active transportation planner. And I believe Erin Potter is also on the call, and she is our CAPE team specialist. And possibly with us, I just cannot see everybody here, is Nate Graham, our other CAPE team member on the effort. Those are just those of us that are here today. There are so many people that have supported this, both from a transportation department or division perspective, within DES, within other county departments and groups, as well as our advisory group, and then members of the community. This has just been such a collaborative process that has had thousands of people share their voice about what they desire Arlington's transportation future to be like. And that is the foundation of what we are coming to you with tonight to request an action on to approve the vision and goals that have come from this very in-depth community process that we're going to highlight today because we presented in such detail the last time we were here. As a reminder, we are at kind of the touch point from our second phase of public engagement, which we used to refine the vision and goals and then create the proposed vision and goals that we'll be asking for a endorsement of this evening. Those will go to the board. And once we have that endorsement from the board on the vision and goals saying, yes, this is what our vision is, this is what the plan will be built around, we will start doing that. We'll create a lot of great policies, metrics, modal priorities that will help build towards the vision and goals that this hopefully endorsement approves. And that will come in the fall with hopefully sometime around this year as coming back for you to say, do this again, but with the full transportation plan. So at a high level, how did we get here today? We have had 2 rounds of public engagement. They had robust feedback. The first phase of engagement was fall 2024, where we went out to the community and asked people what they wanted out of transportation, what their values are, how they want to travel. We did that through a lot of public engagement. We did that through looking at precedent plans to see kind of like what sister cities and what even our own county policies are doing for us as far as transportation values and policies. We have an advisory group that was integral to that process, as well as staff from not just transportation, but throughout the county. We took that, we developed the draft vision and goals. We brought those to the community in the winter, so February to March. We did that robust public engagement again through multifaceted public engagement, worked with the advisory group and staff to create refined and proposed goals that we're going to touch on this evening. So just as a reminder, across those 2 phases of public engagement, we had significant time for people to come. We had 76 formal days of public comment and engagement through both phases. We had 52 events across both phases with 4 open houses, 9 pop-up events, 16 canvassing events, and 22 listening sessions where we were out talking to people who use the transportation system, who it affects, who care about how they travel in the future and want to be a part of identifying that future that we're all working towards. Across all of those events, we had 12,226 unique encounters. Some people probably came to pop-ups across both phases, or we probably talked to same people at listening sessions, but those conversations were different each time because they built on each other. and it was such an important part of this process. We had 2,422 feedback responses in that first phase of public engagement, where we asked people what they valued and what they wanted us to kind of think about as we work towards this future. We had an interactive map with over 2,700 comments on it. And across both phases of engagement, we had over 15,000 web page hits, unique web page hits. During phase one engagement, as I've kind of alluded to, we asked people how they travel today, how they'd like to travel in the future, and what our shared vision for transportation in Arlington is. We took that information and we heard kind of that in Arlington, transportation today is good. People appreciate the investments we've made to date. They appreciate that we listened, that we prioritize the different ways people want to move around the county, but it could be better. We can continue to improve on the legacy work the county has done and do better in the future. People walk a lot today, but they want to walk more in the future. They want the walking to be the way they choose to travel. People really do see the investments that we've made in public transit as a strength in the county, but they really want to see opportunities for growth, especially in our bus network. When people think about making their trips and how they make their trips and the modes they choose to take, time and reliability are top of mind. If people can't get where they're going on a consistent basis with reliability and in a timely manner, they're going to choose a different way to get there if they can't do it the way they want to. Across all modes of transportation, when people are traveling, they want to be safe. They want to feel safe, whether they're walking, biking, driving, taking the bus, riding metro. Safety is a priority for people in the county. And people value equitable access to transportation. They recognize how important transportation is to our community, to our strong community, and to making sure that people have access to opportunities within the county. We built on what we heard, and we developed a set of goals and a vision. We call those our draft goals when we went out in phase two engagement. And we asked people to reflect on them and say, does the vision actually have your ideal future for transportation? Do the draft goals include your priorities? And did we miss anything? Is there something in the draft vision statement, in the 6 goals, that is really important to you from a transportation perspective as we think big picture about the future that we don't have? What we heard from that second phase of engagement is that in general, people thought the vision and goals that we brought out as draft reflected the feedback they'd shared with us in phase 1. We heard that the vision of that time didn't have a nod and a reference to sustainability, and that was important to the community. We heard that overall the goals kind of hit the mark. Even though there's some fine tweaking people thought we could do in the statements, the goals overall worked towards that future that we want to see. People thought that when we think about and say the goals, that we should center them on the people and the people who are traveling and their experiences, rather than just saying the network or transportation. It should be about the people who are traveling. For our safety goal, people expressed that they don't just want to be safe when they travel. It's not just about the statistical likelihood that they'll be involved in a crash. They want to feel safe. They want to feel comfortable. And that's really important as we think about our multimodal network, that even if someone's safe biking, if they don't feel comfortable doing it, they don't feel safe, they're not going to choose to do that. Same thing if they're waiting at a bus stop. If they don't feel safe waiting at a bus stop, they're not going to choose to take the bus that day. And then the final kind of theme from that phase of engagement was that reliability is a top concern from the community. The reliability of the transportation network, that they can know that when they want to go somewhere, they're going to be able to get there, is just top of mind and a theme across all of the different communities we talked to. So through that, we refined our vision and goals. As a reminder, our vision statement is high level. It's aspirational. It is our community's desire for transportation in the future. It's supported by goals. Those goals are clearly defined statements that tie back to the vision, but elaborate a bit more, but they're still not detailed like policies. They don't have specifics about how something will happen. They talk to that higher level goal of what we're working towards. And then once we have the vision and goal set, we will develop the policies and strategies that work to implement the vision and goals. A little bit of a recap on how we kind of got to the vision and goals that we're presenting this evening is we looked at, along with public engagement, everything we heard through both phases, existing county priorities and values to make sure that what we're doing from a transportation perspective works with all of the other programs, policies, and aspirations the county has. And looking at those, we saw that equity, environmental sustainability, travel choice, integrated land use and transportation decisions, Vision Zero, affordability, and economic opportunities are important things the county are working towards and for us to consider as we work towards creating the goals for the transportation network. Through this process, through the phase 1 and 2 community engagement process, we and the reflection of the existing county priorities, we developed that draft set of vision and goals. That draft is what we went to the community with in phase 2, where we said, did we hit the mark? Have we missed anything? Is there something that's almost right but needs a tweak to really land appropriately? Through that, we created a set of refined vision and goals. We took those to our advisory group and internally to staff both within the transportation division as well as our interdepartmental working group to ask kind of, okay, we refined this. This is what we heard from the community. These are the changes we made. Do we need to make more? And we did. We made a few more tweaks following that advisory group input, and we developed the proposed vision and goals that we're presenting tonight. And we actually made one additional tweak to those proposed vision and goals following the LRPC meeting that I'll emphasize when we get to the vision statement. So our proposed vision statement is people of all ages, backgrounds, and abilities can move safely, comfortably, and seamlessly in Arlington. Everyone can rely on a variety of high quality, the high is the new statement in there, defining quality, sustainable transportation options to get them where they want to go when they need to be there without having to depend on a car. Arlington focuses on making travel an enjoyable experience for people, connecting them with nature, friends, family, and opportunities. We made a number of changes through the draft to the refined to the proposed based on what we heard from the community. Opportunities was a reflection of things we heard from the community that a previous clause was not defined enough or not broad enough when we had just jobs as that statement. Sustainability and high quality are reflections of what we heard from the community. Where they want to go reflected a community's statement about it's just not where you need to go, it's where you want to go. And then without having to depend on a car clause really came out from people's expression about making sure that we are planning for multiple ways for people to get places, because there are so many places and times of day where people can only travel by car to get where they need to go. And the 6 statements, I'm going to read them all off, but we have equitable and inclusive, which is, as proposed, create a welcoming, affordable, and accessible transportation system for people of all ages, backgrounds, and abilities, while working to eliminate historical disparities in transportation policy and investments. We made some tweaks to this through the process where we recognized the importance of affordability and all ages to this goal that wasn't in our original draft. For livable, it's create a transportation system that provides enjoyable spaces and improves quality of life, affordability, economic vitality, physical and mental well-being, and a sense of community. During the first phase at a listening session, we really heard that it used to say physical health and mental well-being. And we pulled that health statement out because it's about the well-being. We also had a maintains and improves quality of life, and a lot of people in Arlington don't have the quality of life that they would like to have in the county. So we were really pushed to be aspirational there. And following the last advisory group meeting, we heard a comment that it's not just about the specific things that the network does, but a livable network needs to be enjoyable. The places that people are in, if you're walking down the street, if you're waiting at a bus stop, those places need to be enjoyable. They need to be a place that people want to be, or they won't walk, or they won't bike, or they won't take the time to wait for the bus. Because if it's not an enjoyable experience, they're going to choose a different way. And enjoyable means a lot of things to us. It means enjoyable depending from like a shade perspective. So is that street trees? Is that shelters? Depending upon all of the different policies and strategies that will level up to this, have so many different characteristics about what makes a space livable that gives us opportunities to think about the policies that build under this goal. Our third goal is reliable, notably changed from connected as proposed or as drafted and now proposed as reliable based off of community feedback. It's provide an interconnected transportation network that is dependable, convenient, and well-maintained, enabling all people and goods to seamlessly reach their destinations in the county and region. Following the first phase of the phase of community input during the phase 2 engagement, we added the region to this, recognizing how important it is that people in the county can travel where they need to go, just not here, but day to day, to jobs that are outside the county, to see friends, family, economic opportunities. We had easy to use and seamless at different times. And when we talked with the advisory group, convenient was really the word that people said that they want transportation to be as far as a definer of the network. And then, as mentioned, we had originally called this a connected goal, and we heard both through phase 2 public engagement with the advisor group, through listening sessions, that people really think reliable is the goal we should be working towards. The interconnected is still there by recognizing it in the goal statement. The fourth goal is safe. Prioritize a safe and comfortable travel experience for all people and eliminate transportation-related deaths and serious injuries. As mentioned, one of the things we heard through phase 2 public engagement, that it's not just about being safe, it's about feeling safe and comfortable. So we added that clause following phase 2 public engagement. Sustainable is a goal that we have. It is develop a transportation system that moves more people with less traffic, supports a cleaner and greener environment, and advances climate protection, resilience, and adaptation. We've modified this one a few times from the original draft. The original draft said develop a transportation system that moves more people without more traffic. And we heard that people they want to see less traffic. They want to see less vehicle trips in lieu of more walking trips, of more biking trips, of more transit ridership. We had a statement that says minimizes environmental impacts when we went to the advisor group following phase 2 engagement. And we really heard that that was kind of a negative statement about the environment from the advisory group. So we thought about all of the things that sustainability means to us and came up with the term cleaner and greener environment. Cleaner means we have vehicles that aren't producing CO2, that aren't polluting our environment, and greener really is our people-friendly way of saying biophilic. Greener means that we're focusing on bringing nature, of bringing green into our right-of-way when we have the opportunity of doing water retention, of making sure street trees are included, of those kind of swales where we have the opportunity to do rain gardens within the right-of-way. That's what greener means to us. And then we included the protection, resilience, and adaptation clause based off of the county's recent resolution and commitment to respond to climate change. The last goal is transparent and accountable. As proposed, it's clearly prioritize and communicate competing demands within the transportation network and responsibly manage public resources to deliver and maintain an acceptable transportation system. We had a different goal statement when we went out to the community the first time, but we had to explain it. People didn't know what it meant. When we kind of told them what our thought and intention was behind it, we used words like this, like explaining competing demands, explaining that we have only so much space in the right-of-way, and we're gonna have to talk about how we make and prioritize different modes. And people were just like, well, then just say that. That's what you're doing. You should say that. And we took that to heart. And we tried to write a statement that was understandable without having one of our transportation planning staff or a comms person there to explain what our goal meant, because these goals need to stand as something that can people can read and understand and take away Arlington's commitment to transportation. So that's our our vision statement and our proposed goals. As a reminder, we are asking for the endorsement of these. And the next step is a really exciting phase that we've all reflected on together about how exciting and in the weeds and nitty gritty those details are going to be. But following the endorsement of the vision and goals, we will get the opportunity to build this plan, to create the modal networks, to talk about the policies, to think about the strategies that get us to the vision statement and achieve the goals that we've set forth for our transportation network for the next 25 to 30 years. So we're here asking that you approve the resolution endorsing the vision and goals established for the refreshed transportation element of the comprehensive plan. And that's the end of my presentation.
Perfect, thank you. I think Chair Maradovic has joined since we started on this segment of things, so I'm gonna turn it over to him.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair Furman. Since you were on the advisory committee for this, I will turn it back to you. See if you have anything else to add. I mean, we've discussed this quite a bit already. I think it's a good place, and I think everyone is just eager to see what policies come out of it. So I don't know if you have anything to add.
I definitely don't have anything to add beyond what Kristen has already shared. I hope that it reflects what, everyone was hoping for at this stage of the process. I know there's lots to come still in this, but I think Kristen did a great job of explaining kind of how we got to where this is currently. And yeah, I think I'll turn it over to the rest of the commission if anyone has questions before moving forward with any of the action items here.
Let me see. I see one hand up. Commissioner Theo. Commissioner Theo, we can't hear you, unfortunately.
All right, how about now?
But yeah, we hear you.
All right. Of course, every time I start Microsoft Teams, I have to remember to switch my default microphones around because it never seems to remember. But just want to say to the team, thank you very much for including opportunities in the vision statement instead of not just jobs. I think that was something that this commission brought up when it was presented to us a few months ago. And yeah, really glad to see that change. I think that helps a lot. So since opportunities can be any wide range of things, and we're not just a community for people to come in and work and then leave. We're for all sorts of things. So thank you on that. And also on a similar note, glad to see reliable as a goal now. I do think that helps the problem, or that fixes the problem that we had before of connected just not really being much of anything. And I think changing it or evolving it into reliable really hits sort of the nail on the head, because I know that's my biggest problem with our transportation network is the reliability. So happy to see that's elevated up to a primary goal. So that is all. Thank you very much. Great job. Love this.
Thank you. Commissioner Hussain.
Here we go. Yeah, just want to echo, yeah, great job to the team. You guys have kind of shaped all of these like paragraphs into just a really good kind of snapshot of what each of the goals are. So I'm just really happy with what you guys have done. So you guys have done a fantastic job. I like the fact you guys have included the region as well as in the county. That's fantastic. And then I like the thing about feeling safe. That's pretty awesome. So yeah, nothing on my end. Great job. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner Ludlow.
Yeah, I also want to just commend the work. I think you've been able to weave so much into this and so many of the things that are important in the county. I think my comment may come to bear as you get into the policies in the next stage, but from my perspective, and I did submit some comments to at least to the rest of the commission for consideration, or to the vice chair. I think one of the major issues facing Arlington is its economic competitiveness and its ability to attract business, commerce, to retain and to grow its core economic base. And I do see transportation as a fundamental part of that. The current vision is very people-centric, which is fantastic. The transportation is about moving people. It's also about moving goods. What I'm hoping is that as we get into the policy area, that we can flesh out some more specificity with relationship to commercial activity and economic competitiveness. I do think that's distinct from the goal of economic opportunity. So I'll leave it there, and I look forward to working with you further on this. This is great.
Thank you. Commissioner Lane, tell me.
Hi, yeah, I see a number of the changes you've made from the LRPC. Those are great. I'm really happy with them. I do have one that I'm still concerned about, and I did raise this at LRPC. On slide 16, where we have the sustainability goal, I want to make sure, let me get the right, where it says develop a transportation system that moves more people with less traffic. I have a concern about the phrase with less traffic. I'd rather say something like that through multiple options instead. And the reason is, after 8 years on Planning Commission, Transportation Commission, and sitting through, I don't know how many SBRCs for new developments, virtually every meeting that raises transportation has neighbors or people opposed to a particular project saying it's going to generate too much traffic. It's going to generate too much traffic. There are going to be too many cars. We need to cut it back. It's too big because there's going to be more cars. And yet, over the past 20 years, our VMT has been remarkably steady despite adding like 20% to our population, which I think is a spectacular success for even our existing transportation system. So we're clearly meeting this goal just by doing what we're doing now. And certainly, I don't see any reason why that wouldn't continue. I don't see really the need to put in with less traffic, because really our goal is to provide multiple options and let people take advantage of those. And they do. We have demonstrated over 20 years that people are doing that. So in order to avoid having this phrase be turned against us, I'd rather not have the word less traffic, because anytime an additional car gets added to any development, it's like, oh my God, we're going to have more traffic. We're going to have more traffic. And that's not what happens. So anyway, I throw that out there as a suggestion for, and I think it keeps that sustainable goal exactly as we want, with a slightly different phrase. And it's certainly consistent with what we're saying in all of our goals in our vision statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lane. Tell me, Commissioner Mendelson.
Hello, just wanted to say thank you again for the recap, and I really appreciate all the work that's gone into this, including how you listened to all of our feedback from listening sessions in our last meeting. So thanks again.
Okay, so we have a very brief resolution here, or recommendation to vote on. This is an action item. I don't know, based on what you said, Commissioner Lane, tell me, would you like to, are you thinking of proposing an amendment of sorts, or should?
Yes, I would like to do that. I would like to move.
Okay.
So I would like to change those 3 words.
Okay, I guess we should then have a discussion about that. For the amendment to, so I guess the new thing would be approve the resolution endorsing the vision and goals established for the refresh of the transportation element of the comprehensive plan, with the removal of the words with less traffic on slide 16.
And replacing it with through multiple options.
Through multiple options. So when you first started talking about that, I was kind of against it. But when I reading the broader paragraph, the next point is supports a cleaner and greener environment, and I think that makes it pretty evident that this would not be the single vehicle trips, the single occupant vehicle trips. Other commissioners, would you all like to weigh in? I saw Commissioner Sainz hand go up, but looks like it's down now.
Oh, sorry, I can go, right?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Sorry. Yeah, I think it sounds like that's a good replacement. I also think it fits in with the term resilience too, right? I think a resilient transportation network is one that has like redundancy, has, if you can get somewhere with multiple options, it's very much that's a reflection of a resilient network. So I can actually, I like the idea of replacing those three words with another three words. So yeah, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. I think from just a transportation perspective, I would like to include it with less traffic, but Commissioner Lantelmi makes a good point that this might impact things in the planning commission and might undermine some of this phrase might be used against the construction of projects. So I think looking at the bigger picture, it does make sense to remove it. Should have pulled out my Roberts rule book to see what the steps here were for this amendment. I think we were supposed to vote on the proposal to even have an amendment, correct?
Yeah, what you can do is make the proposal, and then I could make a motion to modify the motion with an amendment.
Okay, so I propose to make an amendment to the recommendation, and I'll hand it off to Commissioner Lantelmi for the exact verbiage.
Yeah. I move that the Transportation Commission recommend that the sustainability goal be modified to remove the phrase "with less traffic" and replace it with the phrase "through multiple options."
Okay.
We have a second.
I'll second that. Yeah. Second. Okay. All right, then are there any more comments on this? Any more discussion? Yeah, Allison Bullock raising her hand.
Hi, yes, if I may, Allison Bullock, I'm the Transportation Planning Manager. We did, after hearing the LRPC discussion last month, talk about how we might phrase this while taking out that less traffic portion. And I just wanted to provide that to the Commission for consideration, which would be develop a transportation system that prioritizes the movement of people over the movement of vehicles, and then continues support a cleaner and greener environment. Just as a way to keep the kind of people first concept that we've been going for with our goals, but then also kind of keep that contrast of people and vehicles without using the word traffic, but demonstrating that that's our priority as a county, that first and foremost, we're moving people. Not that there won't be vehicles on the road, but that they are a lesser priority. And that would still give us a toehold to have a policy around, reducing VMT, any of our other climate related or miles travel related policies and targets could nest under that. So that's just something I wanted to provide for consideration.
Yeah, thank you for providing that. Vice Chair Furman.
That may answer my question. What Ms. Bullock was just raising was that I wanted to essentially ask the team whether there's alternative language that was already being considered and might help with this. So I think that I'm really torn on this because I absolutely see Commissioner Lantelmi's point about this, and I could see it being weaponized in future settings, and I do want to prevent that. From a pure goal standpoint, it's not incorrect. I mean, we want to achieve this, but I do worry about what that looks like to someone who maybe doesn't think about this sort of subject as much as we may all do. So, yeah, I think I'll just own that I'm torn on that language change, but maybe what's being proposed is a good alternative that still kind of meets the goal, but removes something that could be utilized as a means of, hammering the planning commission for, approving a 400 unit condo building or something like that.
Yeah. Commissioner Lantelmi, what do you think about the
the concern I have,
the staff proposal, the verbiage?
I actually like mine better, and the reason for that is vehicles are more than just cars. They also are buses, jitneys, and they also, vehicles deliver goods. So I think that by multiple options, we let people are naturally gravitating to those options when we have them. We didn't have 10 years ago scooters or electric bikes, and people are gravitating to those. And I think that shows the success of the way we've been doing things. We don't have to make a formal goal that VMT has to drop. And of course, wanting to drop, it could drop by one car, it could drop by 20%. We don't have a goal of numbers. Is any drop fine? I'd rather let it be more organic, more holistic, that we're giving options to everybody. That's the goal here, is to give those options. And we can certainly encourage those alternatives by making them safe and making them reliable. And then people will use them. Driving is not always safe and reliable. And if you make something better than driving, people will go to it. So that's why I'm shying away from anything referring to the vehicles or having fewer vehicles. And some of that's out of our control too, because there are cars coming in from outside of Arlington. So, I think multiple options is, I think, the better one, and it is totally consistent with all of our goals and certainly with our vision. So I'm still comfortable with the language that I proposed.
Yeah. What about theoretically speaking? I'm looking at what's happening in other localities. We have the example of Jersey City, where they're approving buildings now that don't even have parking spots.
I think that's wonderful, and I would love to have. As you know, I've been advocating for going from parking minimums to parking maximums for the county, and that could be a long-term goal too.
The reason I ask that is that with your verbiage of having multiple modes, if we have this in the plan, would that require then, if we get to the point in Arlington County where we can have a building without any parking at one day, would your verbiage allow another opportunity at Planning Commission for someone to be like, well, the plan requires different modes, and
they were there. Exactly.
And vehicles are not a part of this current plan, so it needs to provide parking.
I think it's consistent.
The other extreme.
Multiple options. As long as we have those multiple options, that means if you don't have a car, you can take the bus or the subway or a scooter or a ride share. All of those are there, but at the same time, there are probably places in the neighborhood in Arlington where you would have to have a car, and because you don't have a bus and you don't have a subway, and the scooters aren't close enough. I think multiple options means exactly that. As long as there's some other option, you could support not having parking in a building. maybe not in far north Arlington, but certainly in the RB corridor.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you were talking about that, I was thinking in far north Arlington, at one point, we get to the point where we have these expanded housing options, which is a possibility down the road. But there's only one option, really, taking the car. What do you do in that? How is that in alignment with the goal? Would that place an added demand on the developer to provide another option? I guess walking is always an option.
But you could bike. They could make sure there's bike facility in that sixplex or fourplex or twoplex.
Okay. I see Commissioner Theo's hand up.
Yes, originally when Commissioner Lantelmi proposed his wording change, I was indifferent. But the more I think of it, I think I am against it. I do see the point of multiple options being in there as being weaponized to force parking and force accommodations for private vehicles, when that is exactly what we're trying to get away from. Yeah, I think, and also sort of getting to the point of the proposed goal of transparent and accountable, how staff was saying the previous the previous wording was kind of opaque and sort of beat around the bush, and people just said, hey, this is a thing you want to just come out and say it. I think that reducing vehicles is what we want, so that is what we should say.
Yeah, again, the concern I have is that every any project that would have more people living in it than it currently has would be opposed because it's going to generate traffic.
I guess if I could just continue on that, I think that's going to happen anyway. So I think that people who complain about traffic, about new development causing more traffic, they're going to do that regardless of what the wording in our master transportation plan is. And it's just a matter of policymakers and us advisors to set the agenda straight on what it means and what the impacts are on a project by project basis. So.
True. I just don't want people pointing to our own county documents as support for that position. That's all. You're right. They are going to continue to oppose it. I just don't want them using our documents against us to advocate for that position.
Yeah. Commissioner Coleman.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of go off of Commissioner Lantelmi's point there, and I would second Commissioner Theo's argument about this being a visioning document, and if we want to be articulate about the kind of county we want to foster, then I think we should say it in plain language. But I just wanted to get a little bit more clarity from Commissioner Lantelmi about his suspicions over members of the community basically weaponizing this document for future endeavors. And I'd really like to know, what concretely can you imagine happening with this? Because if anything, at least from my own experiences, even the most well-intentioned document using some of the most inane language will often be weaponized. So it would just help, I guess, for me to understand, if we were to use more straightforward language, what do you anticipate happening from that?
I think that we'll be able to make really clear that by having multiple options, it pretty much supports what is already happening. Our VMT is not growing, even though our population is. So by the number of miles per person is actually dropping. And that's because of all the policies we've been putting into effect. We do hear from almost every new development that's coming up that there's too many cars, it's going to generate too much traffic. It's going to generate too much traffic. Once the projects go in, that simply doesn't happen. But every project that comes up, we have either the Civic Association or the neighbors or a competitor makes these claims. And they don't have any documents now within the county that they can point to say, to support what they're saying, that it's too much, it's too much. I'm just and I've seen other types of things that are unrelated to transportation that end up being weaponized. And it happens. We have a lot of very detail-oriented citizens here that read through every line of all of our policies and procedures, and they will pull things out and they will hold us to them. And by stating we want to do it with less traffic, they're going to say every new development that adds more cars or more parking than what's there now is going to be contrary to what our goals are. And right now, I'm confident that our planning commission, that our board understands this, and they know how it all works. But this is a document for the years to come. And commissions change, boards change. I don't want them to be reading this the wrong way or using it as an excuse not to go ahead with building more housing.
All right, thanks.
I mean, with what the staff proposed, which was develop a transportation system that prioritizes movement of people over the movement of vehicles. I was literally thinking about that in the way when you, I forgot the name, I'm blanking right now, on the website where you design the various streets. And you have the cross section, and you can put excuse me, did someone say it?
You mean like complete streets?
Yes, and so if you put a tram trolley down, you're able to move more people than if you just leave that as a regular vehicular lane and whatnot. I was thinking of it from that perspective, and I didn't see that as objectionable, because adding these other modes will increase the amount of people you can move versus just regular vehicular traffic. I'm kind of torn right now.
Can I just make a comment?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so I see the logic in shifting this away from the word traffic. Traffic conjures a very specific image and is tied direct. I mean, we don't say bus traffic typically, we don't say metro train traffic, or we don't say bike lane traffic. It's car traffic, right? And if we're talking about optionality and if we're talking about sustainability, I think we want to assert that is achieved by having options in multiple modes. I agree with Commissioner Lantelmi's position that although I'll admit I don't fully understand the weaponization and the implications that he's talking about, but I think that there's a lot of value in expressing the modality here and saying something about how we want a system that moves more people and more goods more efficiently over more modes. Something of that nature where we're like, it's just very clear, because the traffic thing is cloaking a different problem, and it's an intentional vilification of automobiles, and that's fine. We're aiming for a car-free Arlington, but I would support broadening it, just because I think we are talking about an Arlington that, if it is car-free and maybe truck-free, well, that means that people and goods are being moved other ways. So, and it leaves, I think by doing that, it also leaves the planners, the transportation, responsible individuals, the developers and others, with just a bit more options on the table when there's something that needs to be developed, because we're not channeling that energy that possibly right into the traffic word. So I'll stop anyway. So I'm supportive. I think we need to get the wording right, but I think the idea of modality is a good one.
Yes. Commissioner Lane, tell me, could you drop the verbiage into the chat so we have that? Is that allowed, or
See if I can
do
get
you
that.
have the option for that? Yeah.
Okay.
I think we can do it. Yeah, and then in the meantime, this is a strategic document, and just like we've here in the commission used the MTP to insist on more mid-block porosity or things of that nature, that's something that's specific in the MTP that we can refer to, and people will be referring to this document as well, whether to advance a project or to obstruct it. So I think I appreciate Commissioner Lane telling me thinking about this from the perspective of other commissions and how it might impact projects. Does anyone else have anything to add, including staff?
I'll just say quickly that we appreciate you thinking through this statement and talking about it, because we know that this plan will be used for another 20 years, and the intentionality behind the conversation, we do really appreciate.
Okay, the language is in the chat.
Okay. All right. Well, if no one has anything else to add, I think we can vote on this, and I'll read it out once again. And let me copy everything. Multiple windows open. Okay, so I will read this out, and Commissioner Lane, tell me, please pay attention and see if that's this is okay. Move to vote on approving the resolution endorsing the vision and goals established for a refresh of the transportation element of the comprehensive plan, with one change: replace in the sustainability goal the phrase "with less traffic" with "through multiple options."
Yeah, that's it.
I will put that into the chat so everyone can read it. Can I get a second for that?
I'll second.
Seconded.
Okay. All right. Moving on to the voting. Commissioner Coleman.
Aye.
Commissioner Flores.
Aye.
Commissioner Furman, or Vice Chair Furman, sorry.
Nay.
Nay. Commissioner Hussein.
Aye.
Commissioner Lane Telme.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker. Is she present? One minute. Is Commissioner
She's
Walker
absent.
present? She's absent. Okay. Commissioner Ludlow.
Aye.
Commissioner Mendelson.
Aye.
I vote aye. Commissioner Shannon.
He's absent as well.
Okay, and Commissioner Theo.
Nay.
The resolution passes with 7-4 against. All right, thank you very much, and let's move on to the next item.
Okay, the next item is for the request for approval of the transfer of ownership of the Arlington Blue Top Cab Company Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity. This is an action item, and we have staff member Angie De La Barrera presenting on this item, and we also have 4 organizational speakers. Thank you.
Good
And I'll
evening,
turn it over to you.
Thank you, Inumidum. Good evening. For the record, my name is Angie De La Barrera, and I'm with Arlington County Transportation Planning. This is a recommendation to authorize the transfer of ownership of Arlington Blue Top Cab Company Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity from Mr. John Masood to Ms. Mindy Gaber and Mr. Wahid Rahim. Just for background, Blue Top has been serving Arlington County since 1984. They currently operate 100 taxi cabs, and out of those, 15 are wheelchair accessible vehicles. They offer 24/7 dispatch with a fuel-efficient fleet. The proposed new owner, Ms. Gaver and Mr. Rahim, are long-serving Blue Top employees. They bring extensive experience in taxi cab operations and management and have passed criminal background checks and financial requirements. They're planning to double the wheelchair accessible fleet from 15 to 30 vehicles to improve accessibility and maintain the full-time dispatch and driver owner business model, and they'll continue to invest in fuel-efficient vehicles. The transfer process started in October when the existing certificate holder, Mr. Masood, notified the county of the intent to transfer. It was followed by an application with all the required documentation. DES staff and ACPD, Arlington County Police Department, evaluated and reviewed this documentation. And finally, the county board will take action on June 14th. There are no physical impacts to Arlington County, and the staff recommends the approval of the transfer of Blue Top Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity from Mr. Masood to Ms. Gaber and Mr. Rahim. And this concludes my part of the report.
And we have 4 speakers, starting with Mindy Gaber. Ms. Gaber, you have 4 minutes.
Hi, it's actually Gabber. I would just like to introduce
Gabber.
myself. My name is Mindy Gabber, and I have worked side by side with Farouk Masood for a few years now. And I've gotten a lot of knowledge from him. He's been in the taxi cab industry, as many of you know, for many years. He was also over Dulles Airport Taxi, which I did work side by side with him with Dulles as well. Our plan is to also help sustain transportation for those elderly residents that cannot find transportation elsewhere. So we have a vision to help them get to their destination and be able to service them, hopefully not only now, but for many years to come. With that, I will rest.
All right. Thank you. The next speaker.
Yes, next we have Mr. Wahid Rahim. You have 4 minutes.
I don't think Mr. Rahim, he's been trying to get in for the last half hour or so and has not been able to.
He's here.
I think I get in now, John. Okay, good evening, gentlemen. My name is Wahid Rahim, and I work with the Blue Top since 2006, and I know Mr. Masood for a long time, like probably around almost 30 years. And we try to run the business the best as we can for the Arlington County citizen and seniors.
Okay. Next, we have Mr. John Masood.
Good evening, everybody. My name is John Masood. I'm the president of Arlington Blue Top Cabs. We first went into business back on January 9, 1984, when we were, I think at that time, 10 vehicles, and I was the only dispatcher working 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., 6 days a week. It's been a pleasure to work with so many people in Arlington County, from the senior citizens who live at Woodland Hills to the many hack inspectors I've dealt with, everybody from Dan Wines to Detective Toomey right now, everybody in between. I've enjoyed getting to know Angie De La Barrera. She's been an outstanding member of staff. It has been a great last 41 years, but all things must come to an end. I've known Ms. Gabber and Mr. Wahid Rahim for several years. They were two outstanding individuals. Our business took a horrible hit during COVID. Uber was a problem, but you can survive competition, but a pandemic of that scale, where three of our drivers were died unfortunately because of it, just destroyed our business, and it's really time for us to pass this on to better and more capable people. I am lucky to have met Mr. Rahim and Ms. Gabber, and I look forward to answering any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. And I did state that there were 4 speakers. There are actually 3. I think I confused it with 4 minutes. So that concludes the speakers we have for this item.
Okay, thank you. Any commissioners with any comments? Commissioner Ludlow.
Yeah, I just want to say, from my perspective, anything that we can do to support local business is in our county's best interest. When you ride with a ride share, which I do sometimes, I'll admit, you are siphoning revenue and capital from our region to another part of the country, Silicon Valley. The Ubers and Lyfts are not subject to the same level of scrutiny. That's unfair. That is a flaw in Virginia statute. So that's my view. And so if we're assisting enterprise in Arlington through supporting supporting this resolution, I'm absolutely for it.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to add that it's not only a local business, a Northern Virginia business, but it's also a worker-owned business. And oftentimes the market will leave people by the wayside. They won't, the Uber doesn't prioritize helping people with disabilities, move them around. But anytime there's a market participant that is willing to do that, we need to support it. And I think what you mentioned, Commissioner Ludlow, there are all sorts of conditions that the county can impose on taxi cabs, but can't impose those on TNCs, on Uber, on Lyft. That has to go through Richmond. And if I had any complaint about this, is that it's been taking so long. I don't know if that's been an issue for the applicants, but this process started in October, and we're here in May. And I don't know why it would. Understand background checks need to be done, but these are people that were already working in the taxi cab industry. So I have no objections to this tax. These companies provide a valuable service to our residents, and with that, I'm going to see if any other commissioners have anything to add. Looks like no. Let me pull up the exact language so that we can have a vote on this. Just a minute. Okay. So the recommendation is to approve the transfer of ownership of Arlington Blue Top Cab Company's certificate of public convenience and necessity from the current owner, Mr. John Massoud, to Ms. Mindy Gabber and Mr. Wahid Rahim. Can I
Seconded.
get a second? All right, thank you. Any discussion? No. All right, moving on to the votes. Commissioner Coleman,
Aye.
Commissioner Flores, Commissioner Flores. She was here earlier. Did we lose her?
She's still showing as present.
Yes. We'll come back to her. Hopefully she can join us. Vice Chair Furman,
Aye.
Commissioner Hussein,
Aye.
going back to Commissioner Flores.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Lane, tell me.
Aye.
Commissioner Ludlow,
Aye.
Commissioner Mendelson.
Aye.
I vote aye. Commissioner Theo.
Aye.
Unanimous vote of 9-0. The recommendation passes. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next item.
Okay, the next item is an ordinance of vacation for a portion of the easement for public street and utility purposes at the northeast corner of 18th Street South and South Bell Street on the southeast portion of Parcel 5 Crystal Square with conditions. And this is an action item with staff member Mike Kalufsky.
Thank you, Ms. Obukoya. Good evening, commissioners. Just give me one moment to share my screen. All right. So as Ms. Obukoya said, I'm Michael Haluski. I'm with the Department of Environmental Services Real Estate Bureau, and I'm here to present this item to you tonight. Real quick before I jump into the presentation, I just want to make everyone aware that there were some late updates to this presentation that I'm going to share tonight. I have provided the copy to Ms. Obukoya for the record. So at a high level, basically this is a vacation of a small portion of a public street easement. This was part of an approval back in 2018, and subsequent to that approval, the county started a streetscape project, the 18th Street Streetscape Improvement Project, that caused the geometry of that prior vacation to change. The curb was being realigned. And so at the high level, the purpose of this is to adjust the boundary of the street easement so that it lines up with where the new back of curb will be, and behind it will be where the sidewalk will be. So that's kind of our goal here, is to make sure that the interests are aligned with what the actual improvements will be. So the subject easement for public street and utilities purposes was originally conveyed to the county in a deed of easement in August of 1973. As I mentioned, this area was a subject of a prior ordinance of vacation that was approved, along with a major amendment to the site plan that was approved in October of 2018, along with 5 other ordinances of vacation. So they were A through F. This was Ordinance F. Ordinances A through E were completed and recorded by the applicant. But as I mentioned, since the design of the 18th Street Complete Street Improvements project was not yet completed, Ordinance F expired per its terms in October of 2023. Now that that design has moved forward and we know where that curb line will be, the applicant has requested reenactment of Ordinance F to match with that back of curb. And so this is a plat showing, you can see the solid line where the existing street and utilities easement is, and then we just have this sort of little bump out here. That's the area that will be vacated. I should also say that county staff, the applicant, are currently working on easements and fee simple dedications. So ultimately the area of the street will be dedicated in fee simple, and the sidewalk easement behind the back of curb will be dedicated as part of those dedications. We need to vacate the area first in order for the sidewalk dedication to be effective. We also have this aerial view generally showing the area and this little bump out, again, that we're effectively changing currently from a street easement, and that will be dedicated back as a sidewalk easement, ultimately with the area of the street being dedicated in fee simple to the county. And then we have a recommendation for the Transportation Commission that staff would recommend that you find that this ordinance is substantially in accord with the comprehensive plan, including the master transportation plan. That's all for my presentation. I'm happy to take questions. I do believe that Mr. Allman and Mr. Corbalis from Venable representing the applicant are also here and have a presentation.
Thank you, Mike. Hello, everyone. Good evening, commissioners. My name's Matt Allman. I'm a land use attorney with Venable, and I'm here on behalf of JBG Smith, who is the owner of the Square 5 office building at 251 18th Street. And I have a brief presentation, which I'll pull up. Mr. Haluski hit many of the high points, so I won't, I'll go quickly through this and reserve time for any questions you may have. But just to orient everyone to the easement location, on the left, you saw this in Mr. Haluski's presentation in a site plan view, but maybe the photo may be slightly helpful for those who are maybe unfamiliar with that corner. It's at 18th Street and South Bell. And this is the 251 18th Street building here in the background, 241 18th Street here a little bit further back. So as Mr. Haluski mentioned, this really dates back to a 2018 site plan approval, which there's an image of that on the left. The approval had a number of different components. It was for the Central District retail infill development with the theater and the grocery store a little bit further north on the block, the renovation of 1770 Crystal Drive, more towards the center, and then what was known as the corner building at the corner of Crystal and 18th. The corner building was envisioned as a two-story mixed-use commercial structure with a new metro entrance. And it was anticipated that the vacation ordinance F, which would be up here in this graphic, would generally track with the improvements to 18th Street and the construction of that corner building. Here's one of the civil exhibits from that 2018 approval, just generally showing the package of the different easement vacations and the new street right-of-way dedications, new easements to be conveyed to make the whole project work. And, you know, basically what you see in green is the areas that have already been completed. And in fact, it would continue all the way up north on Crystal Drive, even kind of off this slide with everything that's been done to date. And where the progress has slowed a little bit is here at the corner. As Mr. Haluski mentioned, here's where really two things have caused a little bit of a redesign. It's the 18th Street streetscape improvement project, and as well the deletion of the corner building from Site Plan 90. So the corner building is no more. In its place is just the WMATA Metro entrance project. So as you can imagine, that's driven a lot of re-engineering and redesign of not only the streetscape, but what easements are supposed to come in behind it to make the project work. That brings us to current day, and through the coordination between the owner, WMATA, and the county, we now have that line work. We have the design much more fully progressed, and we know what the size and geometry of the easement vacation needs to be. It's 460 square feet. And as Mr. Haluski mentioned, the curb line's bumping out a bit, so it's essentially just converting street easement to sidewalk easement behind that new curb line. One more slide just to kind of show how it all fits together. You can start to see some of the new streetscape design, new future public park on a little further on the interior of the site. And again, the goal would be that the street itself gets conveyed to the county in fee, and then the easements from back of curb start to align with, either sidewalk interest or park interest or whatever the use may be. So the vacation itself is sort of a technical precursor to all of these other county easements and WMATA easements snapping into place. And we're actively working with all parties now to make sure that occurs in the coming months. So that's our presentation. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any commissioners have any questions, comments? Commissioner Hussain.
I do have one question. I think you mentioned, Mr. Haluski, the term dedicated and fee simple. I don't know what that means. And I saw it in the report, and I'm just curious what it means.
Sure, thanks for the question. Dedicated and fee simple means that the street is owned by the county. The county is the owner of the land, and it's dedicated to the public for public street purposes, as opposed to the rights that the county currently has right now, which is just a surface easement for public street. So JBG Smith remains the underlying fee simple owner of the land, and the county just has an easement over it.
Cool. Learning something new every day. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Okay. I'm looking, Mr. Haluski, could you pull up the language for the recommendation? Because did you say it's different from what's already in the board report that we have in our supporting documentation?
That part has not changed, but I'm happy to pull
That
it up.
part has not changed. Okay.
Just give me one moment. There we are.
Okay. So this is basically the language for the in the board report for the planning commission. We'll do it to the transportation as well.
Correct.
All right. Okay. Well, I move that the Transportation Commission recommends to the County Board to find the ordinance of vacation for a portion of the easement for public street and utilities purposes at the northeast corner of 18th Street South and South Bell Street on the southeast portion of Parcel 5, Crystal Square, RPC number 34-020-251 with conditions is substantially in accord with the comprehensive plan, including the master transportation plan of Arlington County, Virginia.
Seconded.
Okay. Any debate on this? Looks like no. Moving on to the votes. Commissioner Coleman.
Aye.
Commissioner Flores.
Aye.
Vice Chair Furman.
Aye.
Commissioner Hussein,
Aye.
Commissioner Lantelmi,
Aye.
Commissioner Ludlow,
Aye.
Commissioner Mendelson.
Aye.
I vote aye. And finally, Commissioner Theo.
Aye.
Thank you. The vote is 9-0, unanimous approval. Moving on to the next item.
Okay, this is also an item with Mr. Michael Haluski, and it's an ordinance to vacate portions of fee simple county right-of-way for Campbell Avenue, subject to reservation of easements for public sidewalk and utilities purposes on properties owned by Street Retail, Inc., located at 4115 through 4047 Campbell Avenue, 2700 South Quincy Street, 2754 through 2780 South Quincy Street, and 2766 South Arlington Mill Drive with conditions. And this is an action item.
So sorry you're not rid of me yet tonight, but here to present this vacation also. Somewhat of a similar theme at a high level, as you'll see as I walk through the presentation. Really what we're trying to do here, similar to the last action item, is convert an area or areas of fee simple right of way. It's sort of the other way around. It's currently owned by the county in fee simple, and we want to convert it into a sidewalk easement. This is in Shirlington. What we have is portions of the public right of way for the east block of Campbell Avenue. They were originally dedicated to the county board in a deed in August of 1958. Subsequently, when that east block of Shirlington Village developed pursuant to the Shirlington Village PDSP, they constructed the buildings right up to those fee simple property lines. So the end result that we have out in Shirlington today is it is a fee-owned street. It's the legal interest that the county owns, basically all the way from the face of building to face of building on that east block of Campbell Avenue. And that is not typical. So if you think of the west block of Campbell Avenue, the public streets that are owned by the county in fee simple go to the back of curb. And then behind the back of curb to the face of building are generally sidewalk and utilities easements. And that's typically the condition that we see in the county. We would like to own the areas of the travelway of the roadway in fee simple and the areas of the sidewalk with sidewalk easements. Because the areas that are improved as sidewalks adjacent to the buildings are within fee simple public right of way, it makes changes to the streetscapes, particularly changes to the canopies and awnings, require the county board to take a legislative action. They need to enact ordinances of encroachment. These items could otherwise be reviewed and approved administratively by staff under Section 70 of the County Code in most cases. And I have just an image here of Astro Beer Hall. That was a recent, I think in the past few years, just this small canopy overhang. That was one item that we had to go to the board to get an encroachment ordinance. If we vacate it and it's reserving a sidewalk and utilities easement instead, we could review that administratively. So that saves a lot of time and taxpayer dollars, as well as time and money for all of the various applicants for all of the restaurants and retail in the village, at least on this east block. So the proposed ordinance would vacate the fee simple interest of the county right of way for those portions that are improved as sidewalks, vacate it to the back of the curb, but it would reserve the public sidewalk and utilities easement over the entirety of those vacated areas. So the net effect is to convert the areas approved as sidewalks and streetscape from fee simple county right-of-way owned by the county to a public sidewalk and utilities easement. We also have a condition in the vacation that the deed of vacation will include a restrictive covenant that runs with the land, just stating that the vacated areas won't be included in a site area for the purposes of calculating density. And that's just to make sure that there's not a windfall to the adjacent property owners. Here we have a plat that's generally showing these areas. You can see the face of building on both the north and the south side. Does curve around Quincy Street. And the vacation area and the reservation of the sidewalk easement goes to the back of the curb. Here is an aerial view of these vacation areas. And then, like the last presentation, we also have a recommendation to the Transportation Commission that you would find this ordinance substantially in accord with the comprehensive plan, including the master transportation plan of Arlington County. That concludes my presentation. Happy to take questions. I also know that Mr. Cummings and Ms. Washington from Walsh Colucci, who represent the property owner, I don't believe they have a presentation, but they're also here if there are any questions.
We don't have a presentation. I think that Mike captured everything. This is Nicholas Cummings with Walsh Colucci, by the way. I think that Mike captured everything fairly well. The general intent here is to get the property interests to line up with the way that things are normally done in Arlington, so that when we have all manner of applications, including canopies, street furniture, things like that, that we can be dealt with in the normal course of business. This came up a few years ago. We were trying to get a canopy approved for, I want to say, Astro Beer Hall, or maybe it was a donut shop, but either way, it became a huge hassle getting an encroachment approved. We had multiple meetings with staff, and this isn't something that anybody wants to be spending their time on. We'd rather be taking advantage of the new ordinance that was passed to allow for these encroachments to be reviewed administratively, because the environment that we're in is exactly what the county wants. It's a vibrant urban shopping area with things that are in the sidewalk appropriately, and so having to go through the board to get all of that is not smart. Reserving the density was done in part two because we just didn't want to pay for it yet. We don't have a project that we're advancing. The streetscape upgrades are coming to the board in June, but those don't involve a building. There's no new density or anything we're proposing right now. If we wanted to one day use this density, we would go back to the county. We would ask for that covenant to be lifted, and we would pay for it. It would probably be similar in value to earning bonus density. So it's out there. We could use it one day if we came forward with the project and paid for it. But for now, this is really just resetting the property interests. I will note that we are still paying the county, I want to say $200,000 for the privilege of doing this. So there's still income coming to the county for this swap, essentially, of property rights. So I think that's all I want to say.
Thank you. I see a couple hands up. Vice Chair Furman.
Yes, hi. Thank you for the presentation. I know Shirlington really well. It is where my place of employment is. I live a short bike ride away. I am frequently there with my family. So I want to get a better sense of, you mentioned it just now, Mr. Cummings, there are proposed streetscape improvements that may be coming to the area. It sounds like this is not intended to change anything in terms of outcomes there. I think long term, I will admit, I would love to see Campbell Avenue, especially this portion of Campbell Avenue, go completely pedestrianized so that we no longer have what we currently have in that environment, which is mostly just a lot of delivery vehicles circling, trying to find a place to pull over and gather food. I think there's ways that we could do that more effectively given the number of parking garages and alternative routes that are nearby. But on the current subject that we are speaking about, is there anything that we can I'd love a little bit more of a background of what the trade-off is here essentially between the county swapping the rights in this fashion. I understand that we're unifying with the way that the county typically does this throughout the rest of our county. But yeah, I'd love a little bit more on terms of just exactly what, if any, trade-offs are kind of here.
Yeah, I'll walk back sort of through the way that this works from our perspective. You know, we apply to the county, we request to vacate the, public fee-owned right-of-way up to the face of building. So that's essentially a purchase of that property interest from the county. We agree within the deed of vacation, its conditions, the conditions in the ordinance that the county board would approve to essentially reserve the easement for sidewalk and utilities. In my view, as the applicant's attorney, the county gets everything it wants, which is the ability to have the sidewalk that it wants to have, the streetscape that it continues to want to have as updated by what the board will review this month. Utility placement continually, they'll still have access to all of that. The difference is that we would own the underlying ground. The rights coming with that, given that we're not taking the density rights and the site plan approval controls what happens in the streetscape, I'm really not quite sure what exactly we're buying other than to make it easier for us to go in front of the county later to change out canopy, street furniture, other things like that that would otherwise be legally an encroachment in the county-owned property. So to me, it's a legal mechanism, and I chuckle at it because it's not my money, but it is a significant amount of money that we're still paying to the county. That's a whole separate issue that I have with these transactions. I'm not arguing with it in this instance. And real estate has been a very fair dealer, and Mr. Galewski is great to work with, but we are paying the county for those property rights. So the county gets $200,000+, but they're really not losing anything in practice that I think they actually want here. They retain really almost absolute control over this between site plan approval, defining what can happen within the streetscape, and retaining those easement rights.
That was going to be my follow-up question, is that I know there have been concerns, especially since the parking was reinstalled within that street, in terms of the width of the sidewalk and its competition of, enough space for pedestrians, especially on Fridays and Saturday nights, to have space with the awnings, the outdoor dining areas. So that sort of regulation is still dictated by the county, even though what you're mentioning is that there's the ability to have administrative changes for introducing things like different types of street furniture or awnings. But the width of the area that's dedicated to through traffic, that can be dining, those all remain within the county's purview?
Correct, and that would be defined by the site plan regulations, the conditions and the plans associated with it, and those are in our plans and our submission that is advancing towards the board on the 14th of June. We do in that identify a 6-foot clear path that runs through all of the different things in the sidewalk in Arlington, including some old trees that we're preserving, including some of the outdoor dining, which is in and of itself a little bit of an interesting situation. There's just a lot of tenants out there who have been allowed to apply without our knowledge or permission necessarily. So we're cleaning that up too, just to make sure that everything is defined and that we know where the clear travel lane is supposed to be for the pedestrians, and where the street furniture is supposed to be, and where the dining is supposed to be, et cetera. We had a lunch and learn the other week, and I know that the commissioner was probably invited, but I can certainly send your plans to if you're curious to see, what's going on. There have been some other presentations. If you live in the area, my client, Jeff Sharp, is going to be at the Civic Association meeting on the 4th of June. He was invited to give an update. So if you go to that meeting, or if you log in on Zoom, he'll give you another overview at that meeting. And that'll get into the design treatment, et cetera. This is not directly relevant to this application, but I know you're interested. We did have a debate over the last 4 years over the appropriate width of the travel lanes here. The fire marshal won that debate, and so the lanes are wider to permit fire access that the county at this point is establishing as the standard need for fire access. We are agreeing to, and we're happy to do it, some treatments to those wider lanes to help narrow them in view for cars and to help reduce conflicts, et cetera. There's a lot being done too to help with the various crossings. There's a lot of new public spaces that are introduced. We're taking a look at the plaza outside of the library in conjunction with Public Art and in close coordination with the library and the theater. Looking at that and some upgrades there too. So I think the total budget is like $16 million, and all of this is being done without a building or project associated with it. Obviously, this is a private company. They see a lot of value in Shirlington, a lot of value in refreshing and updating it, but it's been a long time coming and it's quite frankly overdue.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for all those answers. I am looking forward to the streetscape pieces. We on this commission have had, I think, a few discussions, at least in the past, around fire marshal requirements, and that's part of where my preference towards pedestrianizing comes from, is creating it to be that it's a wide enough zone that it can comply with those requirements while not necessarily being accessible to regular individual passenger vehicles, so just only to emergency vehicles, but that's not what we're discussing here right now. So I appreciate your answers to this.
And quite
Answered
frankly,
sufficiently what I
my
was looking
wife's
for.
first reaction to all of this was they should shut all that down to cars. And I was like, well, wait a second, let me explain to you why we still need vehicle access. And
yeah,
like, we're not there yet, but maybe 1 year off in the future we could be.
Yeah, and I think in the meantime, the streetscape improvements that are being proposed are a significant upgrade, and changing out the fountain in the middle of this block and everything. So I think that all is good stuff, and appreciate you you answering my questions. So
And the Gluff study envisions new infill development, so there will eventually be new buildings in Shirlington that take advantage of the added density through the Gluff study, and those will also come with community benefits packages and likely further investments and changes. So there's going to be more opportunity to look at Shirlington over the next 10 years, for sure.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Commissioner Mendelson.
Yeah, I will say thank you for the overview. You basically answered all my questions in that previous discussion. But I will just echo my support for anything that reduces the county administrative burden to make like relatively simple changes to the streetscape within reason. So that all sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I agree that it's kind of ridiculous that you have to go to a county board vote for an awning. We should be looking to reduce these administrative burdens wherever possible and make it easier for businesses and basically property owners to thrive and to do with their properties what they want to within the county board prescribed bounds. I don't see any other hands up, so I think we're ready to take a vote on this. Pulling up the language again. And believe I have it right here. I'm going to read it out, but Mr. Hoosley, please correct me if it's the wrong one. But I move that the Transportation Commission recommends to the County Board of Find the ordinance to vacate portions of Fee Simple County right-of-way for Campbell Avenue, South Randolph Street, and South Quincy Street, subject to the reservation of easements for public sidewalk and utilities purposes on properties owned by Street Retail Inc., located at 4015-through 4047 Campbell Avenue, 2700 South Quincy Street, 2754 through 2780 South Quincy Street, and 2766 South Arlington Mill Drive, identified as RPC numbers 29-020-001, -004 to -023, and finally 29-019-024.
Seconded.
Okay. Seeing no hands for debate, I'm gonna move on to the vote. Commissioner Coleman.
Aye.
Commissioner Flores.
Aye.
Vice Chair Furman.
Aye.
Commissioner Hussein.
Aye.
Commissioner Lantelmi.
Aye.
Commissioner Ludlow. Commissioner Mendelson.
Aye.
I vote aye. And Commissioner Theo.
Aye.
All right, with the vote of 9-4, 0 against, the recommendation passes. I think that concludes all of our regular agenda items for tonight. Ms. Obakoya, do you have anything to add?
I only have that our next meeting is June 30th, and it's hybrid, in person and virtual. But
Okay.
there may be some report outs from our subcommittees.
Okay. What type of reports?
We have Arlington's Transportation Future for one, but they presented tonight, so that one is probably okay. Commissioner Theo, you have your hand up?
Yes, just an update from the Vision Zero team as the liaison to it. I don't know if that's now or after. Okay. Just some quick updates from Vision Zero. Their annual safety feedback engagement went well, about 660 online responses and about 1,000 in-person interactions. They're going to be publishing the engagement summary in late summer. They've also redesigned their website on the county website, so go check out the Vision Zero, website within the counties. And they've also conducted some before and after speed studies, with finding that posting additional fine signage and also reducing the speed limit on 14 roads didn't really result in much, but redesigning or reconfiguring lanes on roads has resulted in reduced speeds and better safety. So their next steps are going to be a speed management pilot project, where they have a handful of locations that they are going to be adjusting lanes and doing improvements on. They have the downhill bike lane pilot, which has been going on and has their fourth project or fourth installation coming in later this spring and into summer. And they are also completed the Columbia Pike Bike Boulevard study, and they found a handful of intersections that they're going to be doing, I believe, a stop analysis for four-way stops at various intersections along the Columbia Pike Bike Boulevards. That's all.
Okay, and we have a few site plan review committees. I'm not sure if they're still active or not, but if anyone has anything else to report on site plans under review or any GLUP amendments, then please feel free to share. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Singh has his hand up. Please go ahead.
Sure. I'll try to make it quick. I was on the SRPC for one Roslyn and River House. I think both went well. River House, they'd made some changes, so the SPRC was only on like land density. So the transportation one will be the next SPRC, which is I think later in the summer. And then one Roslyn had the transportation part of their SPRC last month. I think it was last month, which went pretty well. They had, of course, had those conversations about pedestrian bridges, but overall, I think both projects, I think, are in good shape, and they're exciting projects. So I think pretty standard there. And the other thing is, I'm also on the comprehensive plan update, which we had our meeting this past week, which was cool. Basically, just as a refresher, the county is redeveloping or re-updating the comprehensive plan, and so they're reimagining the guidelines for the comprehensive plan, which they're trying to frame as people-centric, and they're basing it off of the current American Planning Association's guiding principles. So can I drop the link in the chat? That way, just you guys have it, and then you can also find it at your own leisure. So this just goes through all of the information. The idea is to have community meetings in the fall of this year, and then in the winter have a draft introductory chapter, which kind of outlines the new guidelines and then how they relate to all of the existing elements of the comprehensive plan. And so that is, I think, that's about it. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Singh.
And it looks like I have one more thing to report on. Let me just check. I'm trying to navigate a couple of screens here at one time. We have, and you can just tell me if these are still active or not. Hang on. Crystal Houser 7 and 8. I think that one was approved. Looks like the rest of them are approved. So I don't think there are any other outstanding reports from site plans. We do have some advisory committees, but I don't know if they're active. I'll just call them out. The ones that are vacant, I'll call them out too, and we can see where they are. So we have the Bicycle Advisory Committee. We don't have a commissioner for that. We have the Community Technical Advisory Committee for Public Art Selection for Bozeman Center. June Locker is the commissioner for that. We have the Crystal City Citizen Review Council, now the Crystal and Pentagon Cities Council. Meg Flores is the commissioner for that. And we have the Crystal City to Reagan National Airport Multimodal Connection, the CC to DCA committee, and Meg Flores is the commissioner for that. We don't have commissioners for both the Neighborhood Complete Streets Commission and the Pedestrian Advisory Committees. And Commissioner Hussein and Adam Theo just reported out on the other two. So those are the only other outstanding commissions that we have. Just for the record, and I can send this back out to the group if it helps.
Thank you. I see Commissioner Flores has her hand up.
No updates on either commission meetings. We had a meeting last couple of weeks ago for the Crystal City to Pentagon Cities Commission, Crystal and Pentagon City Council. And I was not able to make it, so I'm still waiting on notes from the team. I have not heard any updates for the CC2 DCA commission. So we might want to connect on that to see where that's going and what is happening with that.
Okay.
And then the last question that I had was, when I first joined last year, I had looked at doing the pedestrian advisory board, but had to go through their formal application process. Is that still how they're running things?
It is. We also had a similar issue with the Transit Advisory Committee too, with Commissioner Hussein. They were planning on updating their process for that, and they said they would let me know once they completed that process, and I haven't received word yet.
Okay. Oh.
So that's where we are.
Well.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Does anyone have anything else to add to say? All right. Commissioner Mendelson.
I just wanted to ask Ms. Obakoya if we ever got a response from Paul Mounier on the Art 45 schedule changes. I looked through the TAC presentation for art service changes occurring this July 6th, and I am not seeing it on there. I'm only seeing Art 43 having that service decrease during the peak hours and then on-time performance adjustments to the 72 and the 52. I just want to ask if you heard anything on that front, because we reached out, I think, about a month ago.
He only said that they would continue to review the route and provide changes or let me just look it up and determine if there are opportunities to make changes. It's what he said for a suggested service, but it sounds like there is no effort on his part to actively make that change. I can reach back out to him and copy you to ask if there are any further updates. But it looks like this is an email he sent to you and Commissioner Furman directly. So you have the latest information that I have.
I think that's from something else. I'm talking about the thing we reached out from after the end of last meeting for just Art 45 on Sunday.
Oh, for just the Art 45 for the changes to the server. No, I have not heard anything on that.
Okay. I will say, like, from my observation, this is like a slam dunk change that costs nothing and is like a significant benefit to people who can use both the 45 or the 4B in the between Lion Park and Roslyn. So
with the adjustments in times.
Yeah, it's literally just a matter of spacing out trips better. That's all it is. I really don't see any drawback just on my preliminary look, but
Did he respond back to you on that at all?
I don't think so, because I think Miss Diane Trent, I think, like, copied him on, but I didn't hear anything. I wanted to see if you maybe had gotten something that I didn't.
Oh no, the last one I had was on the Art 45, which is what I told you previously. I don't see anything else here from him, but I can follow up.
Yeah, that would be great, or I can do it too. It's whatever's easy.
And if you do, just copy me and I can track it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
One other thing I will worth just noting to everyone, the timetables for all the Better Bus routes are out. You can view them now for your stop, all the stops. You can just go into their website. I'll put it in the chat real quick. You can go take a look if you want. It's basically, everything's basically complete for rollout, I think, at this point. So that's about all I have.
Awesome. All right, everyone. I think that concludes tonight's meeting. Look forward to staying in touch and meeting up at the end of next month.
Sounds good. Have a good night, everyone.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good night, y'all.